A guten Moed Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmasi Mimirosirus Bas Mordechai. Rabbi Sai, we're holding Daf Chov Zayin Amud Beis by the Mishnah. Hashoichet es hazevach yishech the carbon lizroik domoy bachutz. So bachutz, that's already the category of chutz la makoim, not zman. Makoim, it's a place outside of Yerushalayim, outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Oy makes as domoy bachutz. So the entire mission is going to have this wording, either the whole thing or even part of it. Lahakteri mura of bachutz. I'm going to put the parts of the animal that go to the Rebbeinu Shalom in the Mizbech, I'm going to do it outside in Bet Shemesh, not in the Beis Hamikdash. Or he makes a simur b'chutz. Again, the same wording, or even part of it. Lechol besar b'chutz. What karbanos do you eat? Well, the kachik kalim you eat. Maybe the karban chatas, part of it you eat. So it must be talking about something like shlomim, that you get to eat the meat. So he's thinking to himself, I'm going to eat it outside of the Beis Hamikdash, outside of Yerushalayim. If it's a shlamim, he has to think outside of Yerushalayim, because you're allowed to eat the shlamim in Yerushalayim. Or kizayis mibsar b'chutz. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, even part of it. Oy lechol kizayis ma'or ha'alyo b'chutz. Or he thinks to himself, I'm going to eat one kizayis of the hide of the alyo. It's a human eating the hide, which is a little interesting. The Gemara is going to discuss. Let's point it out now so we could do a little bit of a Chazarah. If the hide on the tail has to go onto the Mizbeach, so what does this guy think to himself? He's eating it. He's going to make a nice bar. It belongs on the Mizbeach. The question is, could I think that I'm going to eat a barbecue on a piece that really belongs on the Mizbeach? I'm mixing two types of eating. There's the eating of the Mizbeach, this tail goes on the Mizbeach, and there's the eating of the barbecue. And if I think in my mind, I'm going to eat something that really belongs in the Mizbeach, but I'm going to eat it on my barbecue, mehecha tasted that spiegel. Who said that spiegel? If it's the part of the animal that I'm supposed to be eating, the steaks that I'm supposed to be eating, and I think I'm going to eat it in 3 days, that's spiegel. Well, let's say the kidney is supposed to go on the Mizbeach, and I think to myself, I'm going to eat the kidney at my barbecue. Who said that's spiegel? I'm doing something wrong, but who said that's spiegel? So that's a discussion in the Gemara also. Puzzle, vein by karas. Why are all these things that we just mentioned no karas? Because they're all in the category of chutz la makom. Chutz la makom becomes puzzle if you think about that thought during one of the avodas, but vein by karas. Now we're moving over to chutz lazman. What's chutz lazman? Lizroik damei lemacher. As the kohen is performing one of the avodas, let's say he's doing shchita, and he thinks to himself, I'm gonna sprinkle the blood on the mizbeach, not now, not today, tomorrow. That's chutz lazman, and that you get karas for. Mixas dam l'macher doesn't have to be all the blood; it could be part of the blood. Lahaktir imur l'macher. It's the same thing as the reisha chutz l'makom. Just the thought is slightly different. He's thinking about outside of it's a lot of time. Imur l'macher mixas imur l'macher. Lechol b'sari l'macher. He says, I'm going to eat this meat tomorrow. Or kizayis b'sari l'macher. I'm going to eat it, a little bit of it tomorrow. Or lechol kizayis ma'or hal l'macher. Over here, he's talking about eating. Part of here, that's what we just saw. I'm going to eat a kizayis of the hide of the aliyah, the hide of the tail tomorrow. All those are pigul, v'chayavim olav kares. Since it's pigul, you get kares. Let's say he thought to himself he's going to eat another part of the hide. Let's say the hide of the leg. He's going to eat tomorrow. Is that pigul? No. What? It's not ro'el achila. The only one that's Ariel that we know of right now is the hide that's very soft on the tail, and that's why it's pigul. Says the Gemara. Savrua, we thought, the Gemara understands, or alya kalya, dummy. The hide of the sheep, that's the skin on the tail is like the tail, and therefore, if you have to put the tail on the mizbeach, you have to also put the skin on the mizbeach. So he's supposed to put it on the mizbeach. What did he think? Instead of saying, I'm going to put it on the mizbeach, he thought to himself, I'm going to eat it. What's going on here? He's thinking about eating it when it's really supposed to be eaten by the mizbeach, so to speak. Our Mishnah goes like Rebbe Eliezer. You could make that switch. They're interchangeable. I can think to myself, I'm going to eat something that really belongs in the mizbeach. Let's say it's a geshmaka part of the animal that the kohen gets to eat, the Yisrael gets to eat, and he thinks himself he's going to put it on the mizbeach tomorrow or in 3 days from now. That's also a way to do pigul. He's not supposed to go on the mizbeach at all? No. He thought it. Okay? Snan, we learned. Let's say during the shechita he thinks himself he's going to eat part of the animal that's supposed to go on the mizbeach. Like these guys right over here. All these 3 things are supposed to go on the mizbeach. It's mamish kachim. He thought he's going to eat it in his barbecue. Lahaktir dover shein darki lahaktir. Or fakert. It's a nice steak that's not supposed to go on the mizbeach, and he decided he's going to put it on the mizbeach kosher. Rabbi Eliezer says no. You're able to mix those things up, and it makes the animal puzzle. It makes the carbon puzzle. Says the Gemara, very good. So you want to say that the Mishnah Daf Amud Beis goes like Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says you could interchange the two achilos, the achila of the person, the achila of the mizbech. The problem is Amud Seifa. We're going to learn tomorrow, Daf Amud Beis, which is the continuation of our mission. The Gemara calls it the Seifa. Amud Seifa Zaklal starts out the Mishnah. In other words, you do one of the 4 avodas: shchita, kabbalah, haylacha, zrika, lechol davar shedarka lechol lakti davar shedarka lakti, with the intent to eat something that the derech is to eat. You're doing what you're supposed to do. But it says davar shedarka lecholin. It's only talking about something that's the derech to eat. Shedarka lecholoi. The Mishnah doesn't discuss anything that's not the derech to eat, and that is not Rabbi Eliezer. That's a son Rabbanan. That's the one who argues on. Those are the ones who argue on Rabbi Eliezer. They hold you can't mix the 2 up. So what's going on here? The Mishnah Daf Amud Beis, Reisha Rabbi Eliezer. That goes like Rabbi Eliezer. V'Seifa, the Mishnah Chav Amud Beis, which probably I didn't open up. But if you open up one of those Mishnayos, they're probably going to be together. And it's a Reisha and a Seifa. So the Mishnah of Chav Amud Beis goes like Rabbanon. How could that be? How could the beginning be Rabbi Eliezer and the Sefer Rabbanon? Omer Le'in, yes, that's how it is. You're going to have to live with it. Or Ravuna Omar, or Alya Lav Kal Yadami. We just had Shmuel. Shmuel says that the hide, the skin that's on the tail, is like the tail, and he has to say, well, what's going on here? How could you think about eating it as a barbecue when the skin is like the tail, and the tail we all know goes on the mizbeach. This tail of the sheep goes on the mizbeach. It's a beautiful part of that goes on the mizbeach. It goes on the mizbeach. How could you think that it's a barbecue? How could you mix the 2 things? It's b'chashim achilas mizbeach l'achilas adam, like Rebbe Eliezer. That's him. Or we could say that the hide of the tail is not like the tail. And memelo what? It doesn't go on the mizbeach. And that's why when he thinks about eating it on his barbecue, that's the proper thing to think about, because it's supposed to be on a barbecue. The hide of the tail does not go on the mizbeach. Where does it go? It goes in your stomach. And memela, when he thinks to himself that he's going to eat it outside the allotted time, that's pigul. Ravuna Amar Oral Yilav Kal Yadami. Omar over my time in the Ravuna. Where did he get his thought? It says the fat of the alya. Notice the fat. That's what we saw in the video. The fat of the alya. V'lo or alya doesn't include the skin. Rav Chizda Omar lo'ilam or alya kal yadami. Oh, so comes Rav Chizda. Check this out. Here's Rav Chizda. No. The skin of the tail is like a tail. The Mishnah says that he thought about eating it. Yeah, because we're not talking about a sheep. We're talking about a goat. Our Mishnah must be talking about a goat. Now, why doesn't he say like Shmuel? Isn't it better to say mechashim achilas adam achilas this? No, it's not better. The Gemara is going to explain why each one says what they say. Again, Rav Chizda Amar lo'ilam or halyo kal yadami. The skin of the tail is like a tail, and therefore what he goes on the mizbeach, if it's a sheep. Just what? And then you had a problem. If it goes on the mizbeach, how could he think about that he put it on his barbecue? You can't mix the 2. There's 2 different eatings. You're right. You can't mix the 2 eatings. Only Rebbe Eliezer holds that. We hold it like Rabban, you can't. But we're not even talking about a sheep. We're talking about a goat. So the Gemara just explains, now that we see the thing on the screen, Kulu k'Shmuel le'amri. How come Rav Chizda doesn't say like Shmuel? It's pretty convenient. You could mix the 2 thoughts of achilas mizbech and achilas adam, and we're talking about a sheep. Everything is great. You know why they don't hold like Shmuel? It doesn't make sense to them that the Reisha, the Mishnah on Daf Amud Beis is going like Rebbe Lezer, and the Mishnah on Amud Beis goes like Rabbanon. That doesn't work. How come everybody doesn't hold like Ravuna that says or Alya Laf Kalya? No, what's the obvious answer? Because they don't hold that. They like to say or Alya Kalya, that the soft skin of a tail is like a tail. Ravuna says the soft skin of a tail is not like the tail. They don't like that. They like to hold that the skin of a tail is like a tail. So now how come Shmuel and Ravuna don't hold Rav Chizda? Just say that the skin of the tail is like a tail. And the reason why our Mishnah says that he thought about making a barbecue, even though it's different than making a barbecue, because the skin goes on the Mizbeach, not a barbecue. The answer is that's by a sheep. But our Mishnah is not talking about a sheep. Our Mishnah is talking about a goat. Here we have actually a picture. Stamsi's here. Here are the two tails. The one on the left is a goat. It has no fat, it has nothing. So you're not supposed to put it on the Mizbeach at all. And Mamela, our Mishnah is talking about that. And that's why he thought about making a barbecue out of it. And that's why it's pigul, because it's actually something you put on the barbecue. But the picture on the right is the fatty tail of a sheep. That doesn't go on a barbecue. That goes in the Mizbeach. That's why it doesn't fit into our Mishnah. Rav Chizah says we're talking about a goat. My time Amri. Michael Mashma, what is he coming to say? Or Ali Kali Dami. He wants to tell us this idea that the skin of the sheep's tail is like the tail. Tanina, we already learned it. When it comes to Tumah, there's a whole Mishnah that says Ve'elushar same kipsar. These are the skins that are like the meat when it comes to Tumah. And he goes on to say, or shetachas alyo. So we already know this idea that the skin, the hide, is mamish like the tail. No, so if we already have it, so then why is Rav Chizah saying, why is he being maimed our Mishnah that we're talking about that the skin is like the tail and it's talking about a goat? We already spoke about it, but when it comes to Tumah. That's only when it comes to Tumah because it's very soft. So it's mitzaref. It's not something a king eats. Doesn't matter that kings don't eat it. Great. What does Rav Chizda say? Let's go back to our chart. Rav Chizda is the one that says that that the skin of the tail is like the tail, and therefore it should go on the Mizbeach. But our mission is not even talking about a sheep, we're talking about a goat. Ask the Gemara Meisve. So this is a key word here for this whole thing. Don't get confused. We're talking about an oila. What's an oila? An oila is a carbon that one brings to the Rebbeinu Shalom as a gift sometimes, most of the time, and the entire thing goes on the Mizbeach. You don't get anything. Nobody eats a thing. Not a Kayan, not a Yisrael. Nobody eats one morsel of this oila. Kuli Lashem. And he had in mind that he's going to eat one kezayis of the hide that's under the tail, outside of its place. So outside of its place, what's the halacha? Puzzle. There's no karis. Vein by karis. But if he thought chutz l'zmanoi, pigul v'chayim alav karis. Typical pigul case. Typical chutz l'makim case. Oh. But it says over here, kezayis mitachas l'or alya. Mitachas alya. The skin of the hide goes on the mizbeach. Ben Yehuda ish avelim oimer mishum Rabbi Yaakov v'chen oimer mishum ben Yehuda shkfar ikos oimer mishum Rabbi Shimon. They say in the name of Shimon. Echad or beis parsois behemadaka. Whether it's this, take a look. If you don't like these kind of pictures, don't look. This is the skin of a smaller animal like a goat or a sheep. Here it is on the right side by Rav Weisfish. He sent it to me this morning. Here's the skin. These are all softer skins. If you have a soft skin of a calf, that's the head on the head, it's very soft. And also included is the skin, the hide that's under the tail. That's the Mishnah over there by Tumah, all the soft skins. This is by a female animal. In the private parts, that skin's also. So at the end of the day, we're talking about a noila. A noila could only be a zachar. But it also, if you have another carbon that has softer skin, if a person thinks to himself he's going to eat this outside of its place, it becomes possible, no kares. But the bottom line is, it says in the beginning, we're talking about a noila. What about other karbanos? According to Rav Huna says what? Let's go back to our chart. Rav Huna says Or Aliyah is not like the Aliyah. The skin is different. And Memelo what? The only carbon in the world that you put the skin of the tail on the Mizbeach is what? An Oila. Because the entire thing goes to Hashem. That's according to Rav Huna. Why? Because the skin is not like the tail. So give me another example of a carbon that you put the skin of the tail on the Mizbeach. The skin is not like the tail. So why would you put it on the Mizbeach? Even a carbon that you put the tail on the Mizbeach, you don't put the skin on the Mizbeach. It's not part of the carbon that goes on the Mizbeach. The Oila, yes. Okay, so that's why it says Oila. But according to Rav Chizda, that says that the skin of the tail is like the tail. So there's many animals that you put the tail on the Mizbeach, and that includes the skin. So then why does it say Oila? It should say all Karbanas. The skin goes on the Mizbeach. Rav Chizda says that the skin and the tail are one. So once you put the tail on, you put the skin on. So why do you have to say you're talking about a case that the guy thought to himself he's going to eat the skin of the oila outside the Zman? No, he's going to eat the skin of a shlamim, let's say, outside the allotted time. Ma'ir the Tani oila, listen to Zevach, all karbanos. Oh, malach Rav Chizda, ibayisem abal yishel gdi. Oh, because we're talking about the tail of a goat. And the tail of a goat never goes on the Mizbeach. You're asking me all karbanos, the tail goes on the Mizbeach? No, not goats. Only sheep, and we're talking about goats. You're 100% right. It should really say Zevach. You're right, it's a mistake. It shouldn't say the word Oila. Let's erase and put a new word in called Zevach. It means karbanos. Next. So says the Gemara. Pasul ve'im boikaris. This thing called chutz lamakayim, if the kohen has a thought that he's going to eat it outside of the allotted place, the place he's supposed to, it becomes possible you don't get cars. Says Gemara Manani Mili. Where'd you get this from? So now the Gemara is going to show us the behind the scenes. Yeah, I could be a Shulchan Aruch and I can tell you, here, this is the pasuk A, B, C, D. That's at the end of Daf Amud Beis. Today, Beis Hashem, we're going to get there. This word says this word says this, and don't ask any questions. But now this is the behind the scenes. How do we get to it? There's two psukim. This is the long one that we just saw, and there's one more called Gedoshim, the short pasuk. Let's go. Rabbi Isai, we have there's two psukim. Mahi, Omer Rabba Shlishi, Zeu Chutz Zmanoi. So we go back to that pasuk. Shlishi over here means, we said everybody over here scream out. Third is time. 3 is time, not a place. So therefore, it's referring to Zeu Chutz Zmanoi. Pigol, the word pigol in this pasuk, Zeu Chutz Zmanoi. It's referring to thinking about doing the zrika outside of its allotted place or eating outside of the place. And then if you look at the last line, it's mimenu, from one of those two. Which one of those two? It's telling you that chutz zman gets kares, but not chutz koimah. As the Gemara, the obvious thing, we need to understand the behind the scenes over here. Who told you? Maybe mimenu means that chutz koimah gets kares and chutz zman doesn't get kares. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you why chutz zman gets kares. The pasach bay. Because the pasuk started out. That's how the pasuk. So the Torah is very makbid on that because that's how we started. The but think about it. It says you get kares right by the pigul, the word pigul, and then right away if it's mechutz makim, you get kares. Omar Rav Somach Adatani Tana. We have another pasuk. Let me just show you the pasuk real quickly, and then I'm going to switch to a double screen here. This is the same pasuk, same idea. That's the short pasuk in Gedoshim. Now both of them together. You have the long one and the short one. Aruch and Gedoshim. So he says. We already have the long pasuk. Why do I need to say the pasuk again? Pasuk, the long one is in Parshas Tzav Perek Zayin. This is in Parshas Gedoshim, Parshas Yutes. Why does the Torah have to repeat itself? Daf Chav Ches, Amud Beis. In Beinoyin l'chutz l'zmanoi, Tneuyin l'inyan chutz l'mkoimoi. Okay, so the first pasuk is talking about chutz l'zman. The second pasuk is talking about chutz l'mkoim. Umid rachmona gabi noisar. Check this out. This is pasuk Zayin. Yeah, in Gedoshim pasuk Zayin. Let me show it to you again. Blown up. You see pasuk Zayin. Pasuk Zayin. You're all masking pasuk Zayin. Look what it says in pasuk Ches. The next pasuk. V'oichlav avona yisok is kodesh Hashem chilo v'nichrus ha'revesh ha'ima'amel. Pasuk Zayin, you're telling me he's talking about chutz l'makom, and then it says pasuk Ches. V'oichlav avona yisok is what's going on here? Chutz l'makom has kares? No, chutz l'makom doesn't have kares. So what's pasuk Ches talking about? Pasuk Ches is talking about something else. Pasuk Ches is talking about, I'm going to show you the picture, you tell me what it is. What is that? Noiser. That's a different thing. It's not a machshava. It's if you literally leave the meat overnight, to the next day, to the day that's also to eat, and you eat it, you get kares. Oh, so now I know that pasuk Ches is talking about noiser. And pasuk Zayin, I want to say, is talking about chutz l'mkoim. So the Gemara says like this. Umi rachmon gabi noiser v'oichlav avoni yisah. V'oichlav, only this kind of guy gets kares. He ate this steak that wanted to sleep overnight. And it comes to exclude the pasuk right before it, that the chutz l'mkoim does not get kares. As the Gemara, ve'ema v'oichlav avoni yisah zo chutz l'mkoim u'lemutei noiser mikares. Who told you? I'm reading the pasuk with you right here. Does it say anything about noiser in this pasuk? It says, in fact, noiser is like pasuk hey. I don't even remember. It's like way before. It's before the pigul psukim. So maybe v'oichlav avon yisa is referring to chutz l'makom. You get kares. Who told you? Where'd you get it from? Maybe it's coming to say only this one gets kares, which is chutz l'makom, but not noiser. Says the Gemara, Mistaber noiser havelei lukmi b'kares. It makes much more sense to say noiser gets kares. Lemigmar ovain lechutz lezmani d'domi lebezov. What is going on here? Because look, it says va'oichlav avoina yisa, and it also says by chutz lezman. Check this out. It says avoina. So now I have exeris shava between noiser and chutz lezman. It's a very interesting limud. So I must say that pasuk Ches is talking about noiser, so that I could tell you that chutz l'zman is also kares. They're both kares. You hear what's going on here? It's interesting. How do I know that pasuk Ches is talking about noiser? Because otherwise, how am I going to know that chutz l'zman gets kares? So since pasuk Ches is kares and it says the same word that it says by chutz l'zman, so now it makes a lot of sense. But the Gemara is going to ask the obvious question. Maybe it's talking about chutz l'makom and it gets kares, and chutz l'zman gets kares. Also a good idea. So says the Gemara, Mistaber nois haveli lukmi bekaris ligmigmar oven lechutz l'zmani d'dome lebezov. Chutz l'zman and noisar are very, very similar. Why are they similar? If we thought about it ourselves, we would come up with the same thing. Noisar, what's noisar? I'm going to eat it the following day. What's pigul? Chutz l'zman, he thinks in his mind he's going to eat it the next day. So they're both about the next day. So that's Zav. Zman, they're both similar in terms of Zman, and also in terms of Abama. That they both are bad. You could have a bad thought about Abama, that I'm going to eat it outside of the allotted time. Whereas outside of the allotted place, Rabbi Yisai does not work in Abama. You can't have a bad thought about Abama when it comes to place, because Abama is in a bad place. It's in somebody's backyard in Tom's River. So since Chutz Zman and Chutz l'zman and noiser are very similar, so it makes sense that they're both kares and that you learn one from the other. Says Gemara, Adarabe, chutz l'mkoim haveli lukmi bekares. No, it makes why chutz l'zman? Say chutz l'makom gets kares. Ligmigmar oven lechutz l'zman d'dom lebimigdash. Why don't you just say that both chutz l'zman and chutz l'makom? Here we go. Check this out. One pasuk here. V'mocha yochel is chutz l'zman and noiser. That's what we did a second ago. Noiser is v'oichlav avoni yisa. And because you have the oven, now it makes sense. It goes together. So ask the Gemara, why would you say that? Just say that one is chutz l'zman and one is chutz l'makom. V'oichlav avoni yisa is chutz l'makom, and it has kares v'nichrasa. And you compare the chutz l'zman and chutz l'makom. Why compare chutz l'zman to noisar? Compare chutz l'zman to chutz l'makom. And I have a reason to say that, because guess what? Chutz l'zman and chutz l'makom are very, very similar. in four things. Migdash, machshava, they both occur in the mind. Noiser does not occur in the mind. Noiser is a physical thing. You left it overnight. But chutz zman, chutz makom are both in the head. Ktsas, only partial. Dam, they're both all through the avodas of the four avodas. And shlishi, they both have the word shlishi in the pasuk. Elam Rabbi Yochanan Tani Zavdi Bar Levi. Zavdi Bar Levi said, Asya kodesh kodesh. I learned noiser from I learned that noiser is kares because I have something called, check this out, the word kodesh, two psukim that are referring to noiser. One says Voichla Avoni Yisa Kis Kodesh Hashem Chilo. That's the pasuk we were talking about. And it doesn't say the word kares here, but it does say. I'm sorry, it says kares, but it doesn't say noiser, right? It doesn't say the word noiser. But in the first pasuk on the right, it does say the word noiser, and it says kodesh, but it doesn't say nichrosa. So because it says kodesh, and in the pasuk where it says kares, it says kodesh, kodesh, and kodesh. That's how I know that noiser gets kares. As kodesh, kodesh, ksivacha, as kodesh Hashem chila v'nichrosa. Ksiva so v'sarav tzan noiser beish v'goymer. I never understood why the Gemara does this, to save some words, but the main word in this pasuk is the word kodesh, and it's missing. It says v'goymer. You're supposed to know this by yourself. That's why, luckily, we have it over here on the screen. It says kodesh all the way at the end of the pasuk. Malalo noiser avkan noiser. Both pasukim we're talking about noiser. Umid rachman gabe noiser. V'adav v'nisa lemut chutzim koyim mikares. And the Torah says only noiser gets kares, and not the pasuk right before, which is pasuk zayin, which is chutzim koyim does not get kares. Ask the Gemara, my chaz the Ariel b'chutzim zman u'shlishi b'parshas klishim tu chutzim koyim. Check this out, Rabbi Sai. Oh, you look at the screen. Chutz Zman, it's going to be magic. Watch it. I did this myself. Chutz Zman is on the right. Chutz Makom is on the left. Who told you? Maybe the passing on the right is Chutz Makom. And that's the one that you get kares for, because it matches up with Noisar. They both have the word Avayna. And Chutz Zman is from the small pasuk from Kdoshim, V'meochi Yog, V'meshlishi, Pigulu. It's Chutz Zman. You don't get kares. Who told you to do it like that? Says the Gemara, Adarabo, Aricha. Did I skip? Ebachano. Says the Gemara, Mistabra, Aricha b'chutz zmanoi. It's much better. Let's go back. Chutz zman is the long one. Why? Mistabra, Aricha b'chutz zmanoi. The Gomer oven menoisa the domile bezov. Because chutz zman is similar to noisar in the fact that it's zman and bama. Adarabo, Aricha b'chutz l'makoymoi. Say that the pasuk is talking about chutz l'makoy. Ushlishi the Kedoshim tiyu b'chutz l'zmanoi. Yeah, do this. Why? Mishum de domile samchei v'kamem ma'idle. Since chutz l'zman is so similar to noisar, that's why the Torah put it right there next to noisar. Like we have it over here, that the small pasuk is talking about chutz zman, pasuk zayin, which is right next to pasuk ches, which is noisar, to tell us that chutz zman does not get kares. Only, what's the lashon in pasuk ches? Va'oichlav. Only this one avoyna yisa. It's a special meat in pasuk ches that only noisar gets kares and not chutz zman. Because it's so similar to noisar, that's why maybe that's why the Torah made pasuk zayin chutz zman, not chutz zmakim. Elo Amarava, it's going to go fast. Kulu Mikra Aricha Asyan, we all learn it. We learn all these limudim. Forget the second pasuk, forget the shorter pasuk. We're learning everything out of one pasuk. Similar to what we said on Amud Aleph. Kulu Mikra Aricha Asyan, Dechsiv Heyachal Yachal. First limud is in red, double lashon of eating. Why two lashonis of eating? That's what we know until now. There's two eatings. Yes, there's the human eating, and there's the Mizbeach eating. Echad achilas adam, v'echad achilas mizbeach, referring to the imurim on the mizbeach. Now, mepsar zer shlamav in green, ma shlamim mifaglim umispaglim. There's two components. You need the blood. To think about this blood, you're going to sprinkle it on the mizbeach in 5 days from now. That's the mifagel, and this is mispagel. The rest of the animal becomes pigel. So you need two components. You need blood and the rest of the animal. And that comes to exclude, says Rashi, 3 menachas, that you put the entire thing on the mizbeach, so there's no two components, it's only one component. Like the mincha of a kohen, of the kohen gadol. Mashlam mefaglim mispaglim. Afkol mefaglim mispaglim has to be something that you have a component that you do the pigel with, and the rest of the animal, the rest of the korban becomes a pigel. Shlishi, what do you do with the word shlishi in purple? That's how you learn. Rabbi say chutz l'zmano. Here we go. Chutz l'zmano. That's what you all said in the beginning of the shir. We said it. Shlishi is chutz l'zmano. Now, lo yerotza is in red. The beginning of the line. Kartzas kosher, kein artzas pasul. That what? Umartzas kosher at shikrivu kol matir. This is a very super interesting halacha. If a kohen has in mind to eat this carbon outside the allotted time, in 6 months from now, and he ate the meat right now, right after he had the machshava, does he get kares or not? He did shchita and he thinks, I'm going to eat this meat in a year from now, and then he bites right into it. Is he over on pigul or not? That is pigul. Wrong. Not. Why? Because he didn't do zrika yet. You must do zrika. Trick question. Sorry. Why? How do we know this? It's from this pasuk. You need a pasuk for it. Without the pasuk, you'd say like Ariel. You need all 4 avodos. In other words, you need to do zrika. Hamakriv ba'akrova, and then it says hamakriv. That's in black, gray. Hamakriv ba'akrova hu nifsal v'ini nifsal b'shlishi. Let's say you didn't think about a thought about when to eat it. You just literally ate it on the 3rd day. You don't go backwards. You don't reverse it and say, oh, this happens to be pigul. Now that says oisoi in purple. Bezevach medaber oisoi bazevach medaber ve'enoi medaber bekoyin. In other words, that the pigul, what goes wrong here? The kohen is a bad guy. He did something bad, inappropriate. So what did he do? He caused the animal to go bad. The kohen himself doesn't go bad. Only the carbon goes bad. Oisoi bezevach medaber ve'enoi medaber bekoyin. Oh, let's just do one more. Lo yechoshev. Lo ya'arev boy machshavis acherois lo yachoshev over here. Where do I have it in red? That we learned. That's a beautiful halacha. That pigul has to be pure. You can't think about other psulim. It has to be just pigul. Rabbi Sai, a guten moyed. Thank you for coming. Thank you all the guests. Thank you for all the people that are involved in making this happen.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.